In this video, we'll explore shelves and cards. Every worksheet in Tableau contains shelves and cards, and by placing fields on shelves and cards, you can control several aspects of your worksheet, including the creation of the rows and columns of your data view, filtering data from the view, creating pages and their associated controls, and even managing mark properties. Let's start by having a look at the rows and columns shelves. The rows and columns shelves simply create the rows and columns for your data view. When you place a dimension on the rows or columns shelves, headers for the members of that dimension are created. When you place a measure on one of the rows or columns shelves, Tableau automatically creates a quantitative axis for that measure. You can create a more detailed presentation of your data as you add more fields to the view by adding those fields to the rows or columns shelves. In this view, what we're going to do is we're going to add region and category to our columns, and we're going to add profit to the rows shelf. Okay, so let's go ahead. Region, category. For measures, we'll go down and select profit. And now you can see in this view, the members of the region and category dimensions are displayed as column headers, while the profit measure is displayed on the vertical axis. Incidentally, you can hide rows and columns, and this is important because there are times when you'll want to avoid using filters. That occurs because filtered data is excluded from calculations or computations performed on the summarized data in the table. So if you need to include that data in the calculations and computations, then instead of using filters, you just hide the row or column so it doesn't display in the view, but is still included in the calculations. And you do that by right-clicking it. So let's go to the view, we'll right-click it, and on the context menu, we'll select hide. So we're going to hide the central region. Okay, but its values would still be included in the computations and calculations for this view wherever we needed to use them. Now to add it back, we just go up to the region dimension, the affected dimension. We'll click the drop down and we'll select show hidden data, and there it is back. Now we'll look at the marks card. The marks card here is where you drag fields to control mark properties, such as color, size, label, detail, and tooltip, as you see here. The fields on the marks card, when you add them, are listed at the bottom of the card, so below here, and they'll have an icon beside them indicating which mark property it's set for. Many properties can have multiple fields. For example, you can add multiple fields to label, to detail, to tooltip, and color. However, size, and one you don't see here at this point, shape, can only take a single field. Also, different views have different marks. For example, a shape view adds the shape property. So let's go here and we'll select the shape view, and you can see now we have a shape property. All right, so let's go and we'll drag region over here, and we can drop it onto the color property, for example, and we'll see that our chart now shows region by color. Okay, so next, let's have a look at the pages shelf. The page shelf lets you divide a view into a series of pages, allowing you to more easily see how a specific field affects the rest of the data in a view. When you add a dimension to the pages shelf, you are effectively adding a new row for each member in the dimension. Also, when you place a measure on the pages shelf, Tableau automatically converts the measure into a discrete measure. Now, since the pages shelf creates a set of pages, each page will have a different view. The views are based on the members of the field placed on the pages shelf, which allows you to navigate through the views and compare them on a common axis by using the controls that are added to the view when a field is placed on the pages shelf. So let's have a look at this view. So here we see profit versus average discount by region for each subcategory of product. In this view, you have to scroll down through each to see each subcategory. It would probably be a little bit more effective if we actually move subcategory to the pages shelf and use the associated control that is spawned to flip through the subcategory pages. Let's go and do that. Let's drag subcategory over here to pages. You can see the subcategory control over here that got spawned. And you can see that we've got subcategories here, and we can flip through them. We'll go to the start, and we can also have a slideshow here. So if we click this arrow, we'll see a slideshow where it'll automatically go through them. But we'll scroll through these manually. Let's go back to the start. Okay, so you may be able to see insights that might otherwise have gone unnoticed. So for example, let's look at how average discount seems to be a hindrance to profit. So we see here that our highest profit occurred when our average discount was the lowest. And here we see a similar trend, somewhat similar trend, a similar trend here, similar trend, again, a similar trend. So here we're seeing that for the most part, that average discount has a negative effect on profit. You'd think that by offering even a modest discount, you would make more because you would sell more, but clearly here you can see that that's not the case. So by dragging and dropping subcategory over to pages, I found it much easier to see that trend. Okay, let's talk about the filter shelf. The filter shelf allows you to specify which data to include and which to exclude. It's very simple. You can filter data using measures, dimensions, or both at the same time. And you can filter data based on the fields that make up the columns and rows of the table. And this is called an internal filter. But you can also filter data using fields that don't contribute headers or axes. And this is called an external filter. All filtered fields display on the filter shelf, and you can drag them and drop them there too. So let's do that. Let's set it using a dimension and a measure. We'll say that average sales has to be at least 500. So let's go ahead. We'll take sales here. We'll drag that up. We'll see the filter field sales dialog. We'll say the average sale, and we'll click on next. And we'll click on at least. We have a number of options here. Say 500. And we'll click on OK. And now we'll do the same thing with category, only this time with this dimension. We'll drag that over here, and we'll see the dialog come up for the filter, and we'll just select technology. That's what we're interested in. So let's click on OK. And you can see here, if I go over to our subcategory control again, that now I only have two options, copiers and machines. And that's because those are the only two subcategories that are based on the technology category. Okay, now there's one more shelf that I would like to mention, and that's the measure values shelf. First, measure values. Measure values is a field that Tableau generates and is always present at the bottom of the measures area in the data pane. So if I scroll down here, I'll see that it's at the bottom. Measure values. It contains each value of your data, and Tableau automatically adds measure values to the view when multiple measures are configured to share the same axis. And we'll see an example of that shortly. But you can see here that we've got all of our measure values in one field. So if I go here to the measure values shelf worksheet, I'll see right now that I've got a line chart and I don't have a measure value shelf here. However, if I go to show me and I select a side-by-side bar chart, I'll see that because I've got profit and sales sharing common axis, that now I've got measure values, and it shows me the values in this particular view. So that's the measure values shelf. Okay, so in this video, we explored shelves and cards.